we were actually having a talk before.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to DC Sports Daily Podcast. Give us a follow at DC Sports Daily P1 on Twitter. I just want to kind of give you guys an intro to our podcast here. We're going to be mainly talking about the Nats going down the stretch here, but after that, obviously, we'll lean into the Redskins, a little bit of the Caps, and the Wizards a little bit. Mainly John Wall because we're huge fans here. But yeah, that's...
You want to tell them who you are?
Right. I am also your host, Corey Thesson, alongside Jack Maestri or Santo, whatever you would like to call him.
That's me. Call me Jack.
So, yeah.
That's the podcast, everybody. Thanks for listening.
That's all. 45 seconds worth.
That sounds about right for me.
But we're going to go ahead and lead you into our normal daily basis kind of podcast here. And Jack will take us from here.
Yeah, I don't know if that English made sense, but it doesn't matter because guess what? We guys here, we just like you guys there. We are sports fans. We have no credibility whatsoever. We are two 20-somethings. You can guess our ages. I don't care. We're actually 12.
We're old enough to have a good time.
I am 12. But, I mean, we're college kids, age-ish, but we just love DC sports, and that's why we're bringing this podcast to you. We found ourselves talking about sports a lot for the past 20-something years. So, basically what we decided to do was put a microphone in front of our faces while we talked about sports. So, that's pretty much what the format of this podcast is we'll be talking about something, we'll say, oh, this would be good for other people to hear. Mm-hmm. So, for example, the clips that we're about to play for you, little pre-trade deadline clip, literally recorded it in the hour leading up to the trade deadline. We were very sad. Then, a little post-deadline clip, a little bit happier. Still a little bit confused. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. Then we'll come back here to the day that we're recording it, which won't be the day that you're listening to it. Doesn't matter. And we'll go to more clips. Today, I was in the office with a buddy and his brother. Asked them what they thought about the Nats. They're not baseball fans. That was a fun conversation. So we'll get to all that. But yeah, first we're going to go ahead and lead into our first clip. It's going to be two clips back to back. The first one is us pre-deadline. Second one is us post-deadline.
And we'll be right back.
And yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into it. What are the Nats going to do in the next, let's see, hour and 23 minutes? Hour and 22 minutes, 15 seconds.
Well, we've kind of been discussing this all day, and I think they're pretty much set in their ways. It's typical of them to make a couple deals low-key.
Howie Kendrick,
and I mean, Matson and Doolittle wasn't low-key, but it's still kind of low-key. But I think they're going to do what they always do, and they're going to come out and say at the end of this deadline, say they're satisfied with where they're at as a ball club and think they can win a World Series. Yet, here we are watching the Dodgers trying to get Brad Hand and Yu Darvish, and the Cubs make a deal for Justin Wilson, who the Nats really wanted, and we're probably going to see the Cubs in the first round, and that's a big deal because we got two of our best hitters are lefties. So I think the Nats are just going to sit where they are and rely on guys like Matt Albers to get them to Ryan Madson and Doolittle in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we know what's going to happen here with no deals being made. Rizzo's going to come out and say he's very happy with the way things went, and there wasn't really anything else that he was too interested in, and that we have a great team, and this team can win the World Series. Then Rizzo's going to go back into his office, shut himself in his closet, and cry because he didn't get Hand, he didn't get Britton, he didn't even ask about Yu Darvish or Sonny Gray. Not that I necessarily would want, Yu Darvish, Sonny Gray, any of those arms. I think starting pitching-wise,
as long as
Strauss comes back healthy, I think we'll be fine. Edwin Jackson has pitched pretty well. I think, obviously, he'll be pushed out of the rotation in the playoffs. Yeah. But who knows? I mean, he could be a long arm in the bullpen. That went really well last time we tried him out of the bullpen in the playoffs. But, this is kind of what we deal with here in D.C., and it's sad. It really is. This is a depressing episode of the first episode because it's the trade deadline, one of the days that Nats fans have come to realize doesn't mean anything except for every other team in the league getting better. But yeah, so we made a move. Kinsler, honestly, don't know much about him. He's 32 years old.
Which I did not know he was
This
that
is
old.
his first year as an all-star. 28 of 32 saves converted.
Played 8 years.
Yes.
He's got
an arm, I assume.
He throws pretty hard. His ERA is sitting at a 2.78 this year. 45 games pitched. 45 in the third innings pitched. So he really just comes in the ninth. He's given up 41 hits. 14 earned runs all year, that's what we're looking for because we just love to give up earned runs in the ninth. And I hope it's not the DC curse where he comes here and just totally falls apart because I won't be surprised. He's only given up 3 home runs, which, wow.
Remember when John Doolittle hadn't given up a hit to a left-handed hitter all year? But
27 strikeouts.
Honestly, it's a reason to be optimistic. I'm much, much happier than I was 10 minutes prior to the deadline when I thought that Nats were just going to sit pat and not do anything. But that being said, we can't exactly say that we're really going for it because the Dodgers went ahead and made that statement, at least on paper, making some huge deals. Thank you for this compliment on the segue. You didn't ruin my momentum at all by saying that. Don't worry. Still working out some kinks here. You're going to have to bear with us. But yeah, the Dodgers, I thought they were done when they got Cingrani, which
Irrelevant.
I would never say adding a fireballing lefty is irrelevant. But, it certainly wasn't the Yu Darvish deal that everybody was looking for the hours leading up to the deadline.
Right.
Then, after Yu Darvish tweets out that, or Instagram, whatever he posted it on, that he was not going anywhere, bang! Kevin Millar freaks out on air. It was great, by the way. You should tune in and take a look at that. But, yeah, Yu Darvish going to the Dodgers for their number 4 overall prospect and 2 others, I think.
Yeah, which I told you off air, but we go ahead and make our move finally, and I'm sitting here saying, "Oh, give me the parade," and then immediately Yu Darvish comes around, and I'm like, "Oh, well, there goes our parade immediately." But just thinking about it over the past hour or so, it's not the starting pitching that I'm scared of because match Yu Darvish up with Scherzer, and they're not going to because Kershaw will.
Well, that's the thing. In a 5-game series with all the off days,
Match Darvish.
it doesn't matter if you have 3 elite arms. That's all you need in a 5-game series.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed those clips of our pre-deadline and post-deadline. We're going to go ahead and give some more thoughts on the post-deadline instead of the pre-deadline because the pre-deadline was a little depressing. We were a little upset, typical Nat fan, not being optimistic of the future because, as DC fans, we all go around trade deadlines and just fold and say we included it, but say that we're just good enough to contend. And I think
Mikey Mike.
Yep. Mike Rizzo.
Mike did. I was listening to him. He called into the Junkies today. Made a great point that the acquisition of Doolittle and Madsen early enough, with enough space to go before the trade deadline, made it much easier to make a deal at the deadline because we weren't, quote unquote, desperate, as he said. We conceivably had our guys. Like, we didn't need to make a deal. So that was a very clever move on his part to get that deal done early enough.
Yeah, that happened about a week ago, and it really provided
about a week ago.
Yep. It provided us, I guess, like you said, confidence to go ahead and make another deal. And to me personally, I don't think the Doolittle and Madsen deal were enough. And sticking with Doolittle in the ninth, I was still...
That's a good question. Who do you want? We got Kinsler, who has been a closer all year. And just to wrap up our trade deadline talk, who out of the three relievers that we got, who closes, or is it a rotation? Do you experiment for the rest of the season to see who it is, or who would you put in the ninth?
At this point, with our ninth inning woes this entire year, you got to go with the guy. Right. You got to go with the guy that's 28 to 32 this year. I mean, you got to go with the guy that's going to come in. He's not going to strike a lot of guys out. He's not going to blow anybody away.
No, he's a ground ball pitcher.
He's a two-seamer guy. But he's 28 to 32 with a 2.48 ERA, I believe. I mean, that's much more reliable than just doing an experimental thing where it's a rotation. Doolittle comes in and throws 95 down the pipe.
You know what's interesting? He has reverse splits. Kinsler does. Righties are hitting 284 off of him, and lefties are hitting like 176.
That's because of the two-seamer.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think I prefer Madsen in the 8th. I think you need to move Doolittle to a 7th or even as a situational guy.
Lefty specialist?
Yeah. But Oliver Perez is killer in that situation.
But I don't know. How can you argue with Doolittle being 4 for 4 since he came?
But even a couple of those saves were a little bit like, I'm scared.
Yeah, but
especially his first one in Anaheim.
Don't ask me what that noise was that I just made, by the way.
But
yeah, they've been scary. They haven't been textbook. I mean,
it reminds me a little bit of Jonathan Pahobon, and that to me, I just
all right, okay,
different story, different time, different place. But I really do think you got to go Kinsler, and yeah,
Kinsler. Okay, I'd say stick with Doolittle. That would be my take. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I do think it'll be an experiment here down the road. And honestly,
nobody better than Dusty.
Yeah, it manages his pen so well. And in the postseason, as we saw last year, it's not always about the ninth inning.
Right.
The highest leverage situations could come up in the 6th or 7th. You never know. It's all about how the lineups are set up. But so that's going to wrap our trade deadline talk. We're excited to see Kinsler for the first time tonight, maybe. We're recording this on Wednesday, by the way. Mm-hmm. So this is his first day on the roster. And AJ Cole's starting, so we'll probably see him. But so now we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna talk about a common topic around the Nationals clubhouse, which is injuries.
And every DC sport team.
Yeah, so no surprise here. When I asked Drew and OT, my two buddies at the office, their thoughts on the Nats. Now, and I said earlier they're not baseball fans. They're not big baseball fans. They're casual baseball fans. They know everything there is to know about golf and football, but they don't really understand baseball. Which, could be, you guys might relate with them if you're not huge baseball fans. So a little interesting talk. There's some characters, so you can tell that they're brothers in the clip. But so we're gonna go ahead and roll that now. Hope you guys get a kick out of it like I did. I had fun. Defending baseball to them. But yeah, so here we go. We'll roll right into that clip here. The only way you could practice game speed is to
practice or be 100% healthy.
Practice.
Did I say take a month off? No, I said.
I believe you said, why don't players take the entire month
rest.
of? Yeah. Okay.
So instead of pitching every 5 days, pitch every 7. Instead of playing every single day, play every other day. You have a 13-game lead. What's the point?
Your argument makes sense theoretically, but in actuality,
why don't we try theoretically? Because we've already tried actuality, and the Nationals have failed miserably.
But
can't beat the Giants, can't beat the Cardinals.
It's a national that you're looking at an isolated incident. All you see is the Nationals.
Yeah,
you don't
you're
follow
just
any other
quoting
team.
past experiences about you have to play to warm up and be ready for the postseason. That's bullshit. It doesn't work.
No.
It does work.
No. So okay,
name an example of when it's worked for the Nationals.
Shut up. You're saying, hold on. Let me make a valid argument. You're saying
that was
Steven Strasburg, who has he's pitched one postseason game his whole career for the Nets. He is injury plagued. You're saying that they should pitch him every 5 days,
but he's a great
from now until the postseason, rather than take it easy with him. Or Scherzer, who has a toasted neck right now, shouldn't take a couple extra days for his neck. Like, that's the argument I'm making. Is like, take it easy, guys.
Well, that's what he did last night. His neck acted up, and he said, "I'm done. I know I've only pitched one inning. I'm going to take tonight off."
Right. So
okay, that's not what I guess we're talking about two different things.
After you hit a home
because
run.
you have proposed everybody just getting hurt quotation.